Hello and welcome again to Penthesilea On Air podcast. Today with our Q&A session for Emily Beynon, principal flute of the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra in Amsterdam, internationally renowned soloist, educator and mentor. In this Q&A, we've returned to many of the themes at the heart of our podcast: auditions and performance pressure, long-term career development, sustainability in professional life, and the mental and emotional and physical aspects of being a musician. Emily shares further insights drawn from her extensive experience on and off stage, responding directly to questions that reflect the real challenges musicians face today, from students preparing their first major auditions to seasoned professionals navigating demanding careers. Before we start this session, I already have to apologize that we couldn't dive into all of your questions we received. Those were really too many. I'm very sorry, but we'll cover most of them, and some of them were already covered in our main interview. So enjoy the second episode with Emily Beynon. A very warm welcome to all those classical musicians out there who want to grow and expand a creative lifestyle both on and off stage. My name is Karin Bonelli. I'm flutist at the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra, a passionate explorer and seeker in musical and personal growth, and founder of Penthesilea Academy, the most innovative masterclass designed for audition preparation. This podcast is for you if you're searching for new ideas to elevate the productivity of your musical practice and your level of focus and expression on stage. But that's not all. In each episode, you will find bits and pieces to integrate into your everyday life, as well as new perspectives and insights by our experienced and passionate team and guests. Music is not a job. It is a way of living. My name is Karin Bonelli and this is Penthesilea On Air. So welcome back to our Q&A section with wonderful Emily Beynon. And we received so many questions from our community for Emily, so we'll dive right in. The first one was, Emily, in 2009 you founded the Netherlands Flute Academy and led it for many years, but are no longer leading it now. Could you please share your experience of founding, establishing and running this project? Maybe in a short answer, because this might be huge.
Gosh. Yes, how to summarize 12 years. Well, actually,
Yeah.
I met the business director, Suzanne Wolf, 2 years before that. So actually, 2007 we met, and we decided that we would set up a summer academy. Initially, the idea was to encourage young Dutch players pre-conservatory to meet one another, to play with one another, and to help them on their way, possibly to conservatory and a profession in music. Because I noticed that during the 11 years that I was teaching in The Hague, the number of Dutch students every year was dropping, and quite often, sadly, the ones who applied didn't get in because they weren't of the right level. And I think that I could maybe use my energy better earlier in the, let's say, the food chain, if you like, with working with younger students. I met Suzanne Wolf and we decided to put together a great summer program that was going to excite, inspire this next generation of Dutch flute players. At the same time, we had an international course of people who had already graduated from conservatory up to the age of 30. So maybe people who had walked straight into a job and wanted to have a week of just focusing on practice and enjoying playing the flute with other like-minded people, or maybe people preparing for auditions. And these two groups inspired each other enormously, and it was hugely successful. So successful that the teachers who we said, what do you need us to be doing in this week in the summer for the let's say, high school students? They said, well, our age limit then was 12, the under age limit. Actually, if they're still playing the flute at 12, that's already a success story. So we would love to do something for younger students. So we started doing something for younger students. And then the people who participated in the summer academy said, well, we can't wait a whole year to do this again. Why don't we do, a day halfway through the year where we can meet and we can inspire some other people to join us next summer? And so NAFLAC, the Netherlands Flute Academy, grew and grew and grew and grew. One of the things that, two things that I was very proud of. One was setting up a program of young flute players working with very gifted workshop leaders and putting them together with young musicians in refugee centers.
Wow.
So usually the young Dutch flute players of some sort of sense of have a nice life and certain sense of privilege, meeting kids who have nothing. If they're lucky, they have the clothes on their back, and if they're lucky, they have an instrument. And putting these two together, this is called the Art Roots Collective, and this has been so successful that they are actually their own foundation now, and they are doing brilliantly. The other thing that I was very proud of was our program for teachers, because teaching can be a very lonely business. You see maybe 50, 60 kids in a week, and where do you meet your other colleagues? All the music schools, centers where that used to happen, they are closing down, they're getting less and less funding. So people are having to rent a space or teach at home, and it's kind of quite isolating. So bringing these teachers together and getting them to share their experience was incredibly rewarding program. That was a sort of 9-month program. They joined in January and left in September, and met at least a day or a weekend each month, and in between shared experience. Some were expertise in working with highly gifted children. Others were had expertise with very young children, 3, 4, 5-year-olds. Some were experienced with adults, amateurs, and everything in between. Everyone has their own sort of speciality and thing that they enjoy doing the most, are the best at. And sharing those experiences, that was a very successful program. It was so successful that every second of every day and every free day I had was taken up by it. So I did take the very sad decision to leave in 2021 after the summer academy. Of course, 2020, because of COVID, we didn't have a summer academy. I did the academy in 2021 and I left soon after that. And the NAFLAC still exists in the form of an ensemble of 10 players between roughly 15 and 25. And of course, as the older ones get older, a little bit too old for the ensemble, then we need new blood. You see, I still say we, so it's still very close to my heart.
I hear that, yeah.
Then there's a day when young people can come and sort of try out for the ensemble, and they form quartets with members of the ensemble, and work together for a half an hour and present what they've done, and then new players are invited to join the ensemble. So it's still very much based on meeting like-minded flute players, sharing the joy of making music together, sharing the joy, of course, of flute, and sharing the flute repertoire with audiences. So they perform concerts, regular concerts, but they also do what they call a combi concert, where they work with a local teacher, perhaps, and their students, who might range from little Suzuki kids, 4 years old, up to adult amateurs. And the ensemble forms the kind of the backbone, if you like, of the ensemble. And they present an amazing concert of all different kinds of music in a flute orchestra setting. The local teacher will play with the ensemble as well very often, and that's an exciting way of taking the expertise to the teachers, and to the audiences and to the parents. Very often with a parent of a young flute player who's maybe been playing a few months or years, and it doesn't sound like very much in their living room, but then when they hear that in context of a whole flute orchestra, they think, wow, this is actually really exciting. And then the parents give more support, which is so invaluable working with young players. So it's still alive, but in a different form. And it's still, as you can hear, very close to my heart.
Yes, I can hear that. So you stopped working with this academy because it just consumed too much of your time.
It just and at certain point you have to let the your child leave the nest, as it were, and see what how they cope without you. I'm not the only person who can do something like that. So, and that's been proved because they kept going in a similar form for a few years, and now since a few years they've decided to focus on the ensemble, and that's going great guns, and that's a very inspiring way of bringing young flute players together. So I'm all for that.
Beautiful. Thank you for answering this question. The next one was, before you won the position and in the period shortly afterwards, did you feel technically and mentally prepared as a flutist?
I still don't feel very technically or mentally prepared.
I was hoping you were saying that because I feel the same. Yeah.
I think that is prepared. I think it's, I mean, I've since I was 12 years old, I played in orchestra, and I knew that I wanted to do that a lot in my life. And so I've been very fortunate in playing some fantastic orchestras, national youth orchestras, European youth orchestras, professional orchestras. What is so wonderful is that no 2 days or programs are the same. And, even if I've played a symphony, half a dozen times with different conductors, it's sort of always new, and that's fantastic. It still feels like I'm learning, and I think that's a great privilege to have a job where you feel that I think the day that I sort of think, okay, I know how this goes now, I think that's the day probably I'll quit, because I love the excitement of. I hope I'm still growing. I hope I'm still learning. I'm certainly still. I feel as if I'm. I don't know what to say. Improving, and in some ways, I still feel as if I'm learning the ropes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, great. Then the next question was, how important are the atmosphere within the orchestra and the chemistry within the flute section?
Oh, we have lovely, lovely flute section.
I know. Yeah.
So we all 5 of us. There's not as we all came to the Netherlands to be in this orchestra, and I think that is a very important bonding factor. So Kirsten McCall came from Germany. Vincent Kortvriend came from Belgium, Julie Moulin from France, and Maria Semochuk from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we are a very happy, very cozy section, very supportive, demanding of one another, but very supportive. On tour, we always go for at least one dinner together, but we quite often find ourselves having other dinners, but there is at least one flute dinner on every tour. But we quite often, if we have a day off, Vincent and Kirsten might go mountain climbing, and I might go for a walk in the forest with Julie, for example. So it's and then we have a breakfast with Maria. It's a very strongly bonded, emotionally well bonded flute section. The atmosphere in the orchestra is also very supportive. It's an orchestra where I feel as if I can take risks, can take inspiration from my colleagues, hopefully inspire sometimes. There's a very good creative energy and an enormous, and I remember this vividly, the first rehearsal that I played in the orchestra, Shostakovich 7 with Maris Jansons, and I felt as if right through the right to the back desk of the tutti strings, everyone loved this music and was so happy to be there. And I think that's very important. A strong team spirit. So
Great.
yes,
Oh,
feel very
beautiful.
happy and privileged to have that.
Yeah, I can feel that. Beautiful.
Yeah.
The next question I think is also very interesting. Did the job of being an orchestral musician live up to your expectations and dreams?
Oh, and so far beyond, really.
Okay.
So far beyond. I mean, in a very practical sense, I love traveling, for example, and just being able to see the world, and experience different cultures, different transport systems, different cultures, different concert halls, different approaches to classical music. I think I had never imagined. I remember going on tour to New York in my first trial year, and I thought, well, I'll never be here again, because of course I'm not going to pass my trial. And then, I've been now to New York, I don't know, a dozen times, 15 times, I'm not sure, many, many times. And so I love the travel aspect. I wish I'd learnt languages better at school, because that's I had no idea that the job was going to entail working with people speaking different languages, and so it's absolutely beyond my wildest dreams. I knew from the moment I played in orchestra, as I say, I was 12 years old, and I thought, wow, this is really fun. I want to do lots of this in my life. Yeah. And I don't think it had really dawned on me that you could do it as a professional, that it was a proper job.
Yeah.
And that thrill I get, maybe not every day, but most weeks at some point, that I have that same thrill. And I think, wow, I'm so lucky doing this job.
Wow.
So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very lucky.
Great. Maybe let's take one more question we have. Do you have any tips on how to stay focused on the audition day when around 50 flutists are in the same room playing? I remember that one.
Oh, me too. Yeah. I remember someone being really rude to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How?
I think, I said, there was nowhere really for us to warm up. There were sort of big spaces where everyone was warming up together. They do that much better nowadays. Mm-hmm. But at that time, it was a little bit of a cattle market. And I think earplugs, headphones, listening to, to focus in on what you want to say. And what the music is telling, and how you're going to characterize. Everyone's going to sound better and faster and louder, and just that's the nature of being anxious before an audition. I think that everyone is going to sound better than you, and try not to let it freak you out. I mean, I would be tempted if you know enough your specific time. I mean, auditions are different, and sometimes you just have to hang around in this place until you're called. But if you have the opportunity to go out and have a walk around the block, might be a good idea to just get away from the situation. The toilets are really useful. Even before concerts on tour, I sometimes find myself just finding a little quiet corner of the toilet stall and just sitting there.
Yeah.
If
I
really
remember
need
my
to.
audition for the Vienna Philharmonic. I spent like, I think half an hour there reading because I just couldn't
Yes,
hear all
yeah,
those
yes,
flutists warming
exactly.
up anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. But earplugs, I mean, nowadays, noise cancelling
Yeah.
headphones and have some sounds of, I don't know, the ocean or the bird song or something, or someone talking, as a sort of particularly calming, a meditation even, if you know you've got time to do something like that and you have to stay in the space. But at least earplugs
Yeah.
and something to distract yourself from everything. But I think that's easier said than done, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Mm.
I think we've covered most of the other questions in our main interview. Maybe this one very shortly. How do you compensate for the physical demands of your profession?
Oh, probably quite badly. I try. I do. I do yoga quite regularly. I've started going to a gym with a personal trainer once a week, and then I work out once a week on my own. Um, lots of yoga. I walk everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that keeps me sort of relatively fit. Um, I try and eat healthily.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
So
too boring an answer?
no, no, not at all. I think that's
Yeah,
just the reality of what is possible also in such a full
yeah,
life of
yeah,
yours. Yeah, it's
yeah.
beautiful for sharing.
I mean, I would love to do more yoga because I find it a very good balance of the mental and the physical.
Hmm.
Um, and doing yin yoga really saved me a lot going through the menopause. Actually, when I got a lot of joint pain
Hmm.
and yin yoga where you stay 5 minutes in each posture, and it's mostly floor based. I found that extremely helpful.
Yeah.
But I mean, hatha yoga is great doing even doing the sun salutation a few times a day is just it just gets all the muscles in your body working and
Yeah.
flexed. Yeah,
Yeah. It
ready
doesn't
to
always
go.
have to be a 2 hour workout, right?
No,
It's the little
no, and
things. Yeah.
that's something I've got much better with as I've got older is using time more efficiently,
Yeah.
and using the odd quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, even 10 minutes, whether it's for practicing or doing something healthy.
Yeah. Thank you, Emily, for sharing all of that. Thank you,
Thank
community,
you.
for all of the questions.
Yeah,
And
wonderful questions.
yes, I'm looking forward to meeting you back in Vienna or in Amsterdam. We don't know.
Yes,
And thank you for taking the time today, Emily.
my pleasure. Great to see
Thank
you
you.
again, and thank you for the wonderful questions. Lovely
Thank you
talking to
so
you.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.